good morning, children. You are welcome to my CBSE class 9 class. So today we are going to start with the third lesson, very important and very sensitive lesson. So first, let us see the title of this lesson. The title is The Little Girl. The Little Girl. So my dear children, you will see this little maybe preschool period. The period before the child goes to the school. That means it is a child and it is a preschool period, and this particular lesson actually gives an indication of the emotional bond or relationship between the father and the daughter, the father and the children. My dear children, you will see how many kind of fathers are there in this world. How many kind of fathers are there? So one, there seems to be very strict father, very strict one. Another one is little flexible. My dear children, so if your father is a very strict, will you tell him that he is not a good father, not a caring, sharing father, not a very much concerned father, not a good father at all? So in this lesson we will see what is the type of the emotional bond, the psychology in the mind of the little girl, and how the father treats the child. So in this lesson we will come to know everything, and it is a very sensitive one, and it gives a lot of information about the relationship between the father and the children. So before we proceed, you see we will be reading out this quote. Do feel you know your parents better now than when you were much younger? Perhaps you now understand the reasons for some of the action that used to upset you earlier. My dear children, you will see many a time what happened, the father seems to be very much strict. And you understand now, when you are growing up, then you begin to understand that some of the action that was done by the father earlier seemed to be very much harsh or rough. But as time passes, you begin to understand that the actions were right, the actions were justified, and it was only for the betterment or the well-being of the children. Do begin to feel like that? This story about a little girl, name of the little girl is Kezia, whose feelings for her father change from fear to understanding, will probably find an echo in every home. So this will find an echo in every home. So here we will see the feeling. Beautiful depiction of the feelings of the little girl is painted, and how this feeling undergoes some change. How this feeling begin to change from the fear to understanding. So this lesson is a very important, as it tells about my family relation. It tells about your family relation, your relation with your father. Therefore, this is a universal theme that is dealt with by the writer Catherine Mansfield. So, before we proceed, it is better that we see something about the writer. So, here we proceed. Let us continue. Let us continue here. So here we will see the picture of Kezia, written by Catherine Mansfield. So here you will see the little girl is looking very blankly toward the sky, means she is very much upset. She is very much upset because of the action of the father. Father seemed to be very busy. He didn't have time for the child to play with. Therefore, the child seems to be exhausted, seems to be tired, seems to be lost in her own world of feelings. So, let us see the writer. So, writer Mansfield was born in 14 October 1888 in Wellington, New Zealand. He died in 1923 in France. He wrote under the pen name of Catherine Mansfield. He was a New Zealand. He was a person from New Zealand or New Zealandian, and he had a lot of contribution to the literary movement, particularly of English literature. Therefore, we get to know about one of the writing, very fantastic one, and it talks about the little girl and her relation with the father. So this is a little girl. Let us see the introduction. This is a story. This is a short story written by Catherine Mansfield. Let us see it. Catherine Mansfield. The story is about a little girl who is initially afraid of her father and avoids him. She feels relieved on seeing her father go to the office. However, her feelings for her father change into the end from fear to understanding. She is happy to find that her father is not a figure to be afraid, but a person to be adored. The person to be adored. Understanding. She is happy to find that her father is not a figure to be feared, but a person to be adored. Here you see, adored means excessive love. Means he deserves excessive love. Means he is to be loved greatly because of his good quality. So initially you see the feeling was the feeling of the fear. So that the child was very much afraid of the father, and slowly and gradually as time passes, the child Kezia begin to understand the father from fear, the feeling of fear. So the feeling changes to understanding, and therefore finally towards the end the child is very happy that her father is the best father in the world, because he is a person who deserves praise, who deserves adoration, who deserves love and laurel. Therefore, the child is very much happy with the father, and he is not a figure to be afraid of, but a figure to be loved and only loved. Let us see. So, in all the lesson, this is very important that you understand beautifully, or you can make analysis of what the theme is. Theme means, my dear children, either the central idea. So this theme there may be a lot of themes. In a particular lesson, you can see the threads of the themes. Threads of the theme means there may be fibers, okay? There may be fibers. So when you are weaving a particular cloth, so a lot of fiber is needed. Therefore, so many fibers together is made the cloth. So in the similar manner, there may be many themes also, but in some of the lesson, particularly in the lower classes, there may be development of only single or mono theme. Therefore, let us see. The title of the story refers to the main character that will come across, the little girl named Kezia. The name of the girl is Kezia. The theme of the story is the relationship between the children and their parents, and the writer Catherine Mansfield wants to tell us that the children share a very important bond of love with their parents. Therefore, let us come to the key point, the main point or the theme. The central idea that it deals with is the sensitive issue of the relationship between the father and the children. This is beautifully depicted or painted in this lesson. So after that we will see the justification of the title. Then we will be going to the text. We will be seeing the text beautifully. And before that, let us see the title. Title justification. My dear children, when you are going through a particular lesson, in literature lesson, these lessons are very much indicative. They tells something very implied manner. In a very implied manner, they tells the things, and therefore we need to understand the significance of the title, how the title is justified. Here you see that the word, so the word is justification. The word actually comes from justify. Means you are to tell that this is, the title is right, the title is apt, apt, or the title is appropriate, the title is correct. So how to tell that the title is correct? So you will get a hint. My dear children, will be getting a hint or a clue to the theme of the lesson in the title itself. If it is so, then it is very much suggestive. If it is so, it is very much appropriate, and we will tell that yes, the title is very much appropriate. So let us see. This is a story about a little girl named Kezia. She feared her father greatly. The initial feeling was the feelings of fear. She thought that he was a hard-hearted street man. Very hard-hearted means very much cruel. He was very much strict. She always avoided him. So when the father particularly is a very much strict, the children used to avoid them. And this is the case that happened with Kezia too. He often rebuked the father, who was an officer. So all the time he was asking this or that. He was giving the command, and sometimes he also rebuked her. Once he beat her severely for tearing his important paper. So you will remember, when we will see the lesson, we can understand that the particular situation in which she had torn the paper, which was a very important paper. That was the paper for giving an address in the meeting or the assembly tomorrow going to be held tomorrow. Therefore, that was an important paper. That paper was cut, and that also made the filling for the question, and therefore you will see that the motive behind it was a very beautiful motive. But what happened? Even the motive was better, yet she was beaten very mercilessly. But one night, her mother was in the hospital. Her feeling underwent change because of this particular incident. The incident happened one day when the mother was ailing. Mother was suffering from some disease, and therefore she was hospitalized, and the little girl was afraid to be in the dark. But her father consoled her. She kept beside her father. Then she realized that her father was very good. So her feeling, her idea, her notion about the father was a drastic change, or underwent a drastic change, because of this particular incident of the ailment or the disease of the mother. And on that particular night, she could understand that the father was so good a father, so caring a father, so loving a father, so concerned a father. So as we see that, as this lesson talks about the change of the idea or the notion, idea or the notion of the daughter about the father. Therefore, the title is very much right. My dear children, you will see some characters are there in this lesson. We will see the character. These characters are character sketch. One is number one, Kezia. She's like a normal little girl. She's afraid of her father as well as all do. She almost hated her father, but later she realized her father loved her and he cared about her. Kezia's father, he's a strict man, but he loves and cares for her daughter. He made Kezia feel better when she was getting nightmares. Kezia's mother, she is also strict as Kezia's father. She wanted Kezia to follow orders of her father. She used to tell Kezia, if you wanted to be good girl, she needed to follow orders of her father. Therefore, here also you will see the mother also was very strict, and the mother wanted that the Kezia will be a good girl only well she will obey, follow the command of the father. Then there is the grandmother. Then there is the grandmother of Kezia. Grandmother, she is an old humble lady. She would take care of her Kezia when she was scolded. When she was scolded and beaten by her father, she wanted Kezia to have a good relationship with her father. She always used to encourage Kezia to talk to her father to give him surprise gift. So here is a beautiful picture of the grandmother. So the grandmother wanted what? The beautiful relationship between the father and the daughter, and therefore from time to time, grandmother encouraged Kezia that she will be offering some gift to the father, maybe on some important occasion like the birthday or the other. Therefore, the grandmother's whole motive for the purpose was to have for Kezia a good relationship with the father. Therefore, my dear children, we will be going to the lesson now. Let us go to the lesson. We will see the lesson now. To the little girl, he was a figure to be feared and avoided. Every morning before going to work, he came into her room and gave her a casual kiss. To which she responded with a goodbye, father. And oh, there was a glad sense of relief. When she heard the noise of the carriage growing fainter and fainter down the long route. Beautiful picture of the feeling, sensation, everything is there in the beginning of the lesson. Here we will see the father. The father is depicted as a giant. Figure to be afraid is a giant. Okay? बहुत बड़ा आदमी है. Like a monster. M-O-N-S-T-R. Monster. Why? Because there appeared that there was no affinity, no good relationship, no closeness between the daughter and the father. And therefore, we will see when the father was going to the office, as he was an officer, therefore, when he was going to the office, he came to the room of Kezia and bid goodbye or said goodbye, okay, just by giving a casual kiss. And the daughter, Kezia had a glad sense of relief. Means she was relieved of the stress. When the father will be there, a lot of stress will be there. Therefore, a great sense of relief is noticed in her. And as the sound of the going vehicle will become fainter and fainter, when it will be becoming dim and dim, when it will be less sound, when it will be when the vehicle will be going to a distance. When you will be going to a distance, then it will be becoming fainter and fainter, and therefore the child also will be extremely relieved. Then let us see, my dear children. In the evening, when he came home, he stood near the staircase and heard his loud voice in the hall. Bring my tea into the drawing room. Hasn't the paper come yet? Mother, go and see if my paper's out there and bring me my slippers. So this is the usual routine, my dear children. These are the usual routine work. Routine work. Usual routine. That means these are the commands. So when the father came back from the office, so what he needed in order to relax him, he needed the cup of the tea in the drawing room where he can relax, have the tea, and then read the newspaper or browse the newspaper. And these are the usual command that he give either to our Kezia or to the mother. Then let us see what is the feeling of Kezia. Kezia, mother would call to her, if you are a good girl, you can come down and take a father's boot. Here let us see, my dear children. So whose mother it is? It is the mother of Kezia. That means, as you have come to know, the mother of Kezia also is very strict. And therefore, according to the mother, the daughter will be a good daughter only when the daughter or the son obeys the command or the order of the father. And therefore, she was telling that if you are a good girl, you can come down and take off the father's boot. Boot means shoes. Taking off means remove. Taking off means remove. Therefore, this is the command of the mother. Mother was equally the commander like the father, and therefore he told that you are a good girl, of course, and therefore if you want to continue as a good girl, what you need to do every day, you have to take off the shoes of the father, so that the father become relaxed and you can give slippers to the father as he normally used. Slowly the girl would slip down the stairs more slowly till across the hall and push open the drawing room door. So in this manner, so the little girl would slip down to the stairs. Okay, she'll be going to the downstairs, means to the hall, and then push open the drawing room door. That means the drawing room was in the ground floor, and there the little girl will go. By the time he had his spectacles on and looked at her over them in a way that was terrifying to the little girl. So here you see, my dear children, so the girl was on the top, she is coming down. The father was there in the ground floor. So he is ready with the spectacles in order to read the newspaper, while he will be looking through the spectacles or the glasses. Then the little girl was very much terrified. The little girl was very much afraid, because the manner in which the father looked at Kezia, she was very much afraid. Well, Kezia, hurry up and pull off these boots and take them outside. Have you been a good girl today? Therefore, these are the usual command and queries. These are the questions and the orders. The father used to tell in a hurry what you do. You remove the boots or the shoes from my feet, and again he was asking whether you have done any notorious act or you have done some mischiefs as is done by the small children. Then when these questions are asked, then what will happen? she cannot speak the word clearly or spontaneously, there will be stuttering. Okay, there will be STRUTTER, stutter. Means you cannot tell very logically. Therefore, that means there is a fear in the mind of what? Kezia. Therefore, let us continue. I don't know, Father. You see, this actually tells about the kind of the feeling of the little girl. Little girl was very much afraid, and therefore this fear is clearly reflected here. I don't know, Father. So the fear reflected truly by Kezia in front of the father. Then let us continue. You don't know. If you stutter like that, mother will have to take you to the doctor. Now, my dear children, you see this word stutter. This word stutter. Stutter means. So you can see in the society also many children they stutter. But there are a lot of therapies also to cure this disease. They cannot suppose he need to tell my name is Roshan. Then he will be telling my name is Roshan. This is called stuttering. Means you cannot utter the word in a logical manner. Therefore, the father was telling that if you cannot speak the word clearly, then I am very much sure that you will have to be sent to the doctor for treatment. She never started with other people, had quite given it up, but only with the father, because then she was trying so hard to say the words properly. Now, can you tell, my dear children, what is the cause of the stuttering? The cause of the stuttering was that she did not tell the words in a natural or spontaneous manner. So she had to think of a lot before telling things to the father, because she was very much afraid that the father may be angry. Okay, father may be unhappy. Therefore, she had to choose the word, and while she was choosing, in between the words are not coming, and therefore there was this kind of feeling of the stutter, which normally she did not do with any other children or friends. Then let us continue, my dear children. What is the matter? What are you looking so wretched about? Mother, I wish you taught this child not to reappear on the brink of suicide. Here, Kezia, carry my tika back to the table carefully. Therefore, father is very strict, and the father is telling the mother, what is told? Mother of Kezia was told that he'll be teaching your child some emotional adjustment, how to adjust with the emotion, and how to behave properly in the situation, and more particularly how to talk in a very beautiful manner or in a logical manner, so that she is not very much nervous. She is not very much nervous. Here we see she was very much nervous. Very much nervous. She was on the brink of suicide. She is on the brink of collapse. On the brink of collapse. On the brinks of, on the verge of, on the side of, okay, on the side of fall. There is almost about, okay, an accident going to happen. Here, finally, the father gave the order to Kezia to carry the tika back to the table carefully. He was so big. His hands and his neck especially his mouth when he yawned. Thinking about him alone was like thinking about a giant. So, my dear children, so giant, have you seen the giant? So, giant is a huge monster, okay, huge monster. So, he's now, the father is now compared to a monster. M-O-N-S-T-R, monster or a giant. Monster or a giant. Why? Because he observed. Kazia observed that his hands were bigger, neck were bigger, and this mouth actually was so big, particularly when he yawned. Okay, when he yawned. So when you are yawning, you are yawning when you are exhausted or tired. When you are exhausted or tired, just before going to the bed, okay, when you feel drowsy or sleepy, then you yawn. And when he yawned, at the time that the mouth becomes so bigger that he appeared just like a giant or a monster. My dear children, can you know how he appeared to be just like a giant? The simple answer is that as there is no understanding, as there is no good relation, as there is no rapport, R-A-P-P-O-R-T, rapport, therefore he appeared to be a giant or a monster. Then let us continue. Let us move forward. So this is the routine of the last day of the week, that is Sunday. On Sunday afternoons, the grandfather sent her down to the drawing room to have a nice talk with father and mother. But the little girl always found her mother reading and father stretched out on the sofa, his handkerchief on his face, his feet on one of the best cushions, sleeping soundly and snoring. So let us see these words now. Snoring means what? So when somebody is snoring, what is to be used? So in a humorous manner, many people tell that some what is to be used? That is silencer is to be used. Means a lot of sound is made by the nose when somebody is sleeping. Therefore, that was the case here on usual Sundays. Sunday is the rest day. There is no work. Therefore, the grandmother as the counselor, advisor, what the grandmother did, grandmother understood that there is no time for the father and the daughter to understand each other. And therefore, the grandmother sent the granddaughter to the son, that is to her father, so that they can have a nice talk and they can make beautiful relation. They can cement their emotional bond. But what was the scene? The normal sight was that the father at the time when Kezia went there to have a nice talk with the father and the mother. Mother was studying what? Mother maybe was studying the magazine or the newspaper, and the father was sleeping on the sofa in a very beautiful manner. He was sleeping there very comfortably and sleeping very soundly and making a lot of sound with the nose. Then let us proceed. The little girl was found mother reading and father stretched out on the sofa. Father stretched out means spreading out. Means in a comfortable, in a relaxed mood, sleeping on the sofa to have a good nap. Good nap. Nap means sleep during the daytime. Then let's see the next part. Here we see. She sat on a stool, gravely watched him until he woke and stressed and asked the time, then looked at her. Don't stare so, Kezia. You look like a little brown owl. Owl is known for what? Owl is known for the peculiar eye, very sharp eye. Sharp eye. Here, what did this little girl did? The little girl was very much obedient there. Therefore, she was sitting on the stool. It was as it was advised by the grandmother. She was waiting and sitting there, and she was sitting very gravely, very seriously, very seriously. And what's okay? And watching the father. Till then, what happened? The father woke up and again he stretched his feet and asked, "What is the time now?" Maybe 1 hour sleep was there, sound sleep was there, and after that, he asked the time to Kezia, and Kezia was staring continuously, looking at the father in a fixed, with a fixed eyes, and the father was telling that, "Kezia, you don't look at me just like a brown owl." One day when she was kept indoor with a cold, her grandmother told her that her father's birthday was next week and suggested she should make him a pin cushion for a gift out of a beautiful piece of yellow silk. Now we'll be coming to the main point, the crux of the matter, Crux. Crux of the matter means main matter, the conflict of the story. So one day what happened when she did not attend the school, maybe she did not attend the nursery school because of her cold. She was suffering from the cold, and the grandmother told her or reminded her that next week the father's birthday is there, and therefore she should present him a gift, and the gift may be of a beautiful piece of yellow silk. Therefore, when it was suggested that the preparation will be made, when the preparation will be made, something will be wrong. When something will be wrong, she will be beaten very badly, and after that the incident of the ailment of the mother will take place, and after that we will see how the attitude of the daughter Kezia undergoes change under these circumstances. Now let us continue. Laboriously with a double curtain, the little girl stitched three sides. But what to fill? What to fill? What to fill with? Just a minute. That was the question, that the grandmother was out in the garden, and she wandered into the mother's bedroom to look for scraps. Scrap means pieces. On the bed table, she discovered a great many sheets of fine paper, gathered them, tore them into tiny pieces, and stuffed her case, then sewed up the fourth side. So the gift this time will be pin cushion. Do you know what is the pin cushion? A particular cushion where the pins, particularly in the office table, is kept. So she is going to make the pin cushion, and she already made the three side. One, two, three. Three side she made, and some filling is to be given, and therefore she wondered, or she went to the room of the mother, and then found us fine pieces of paper. And then what she did, she tore the paper into the many pieces and put them into the case and shoot the last side too. So in this way, with the fine paper cutting into many pieces, the fourth side of this particular pin cushion was sewed up, and the cushion, okay, the cushion, particularly the pin cushion, was ready or prepared for the presentation. That night there was a hue and cry in the house. Father said that speech for the port authority had been lost. Rooms were servants were questioned. Finally, mother came into the Kezia's room. Kezia, I suppose you didn't see some papers on table in our room. Hue and cry. Hue and cry means lot of noise. Lot of noise. Why this noise? Father was searching the paper. Paper could not be found. The paper was a very important one. So he served in the port authority, port or harbor, H-A-R-B-O-U-R, harbor. So he is to attend to the meeting, and in the meeting he had a speech, and this speech was written in a fine paper, and this paper was missed. The servants were searched, servants were called and searched, and then finally the mother of Kezia came and asked the little girl that, I suppose you have not seen any paper on the table, particularly in our room, in the room where the father and mother stayed. So normally, my dear children, what will happen when the child is asked? Out of the fear, many of the children may say, Mother, I do not know. But the children, many children are there, just like Mahatma Gandhi. So what they will be telling? They will be telling the correct thing. So what is your feeling? So it is better to tell the right thing, even though punishment may be welcomed. Oh yes, she said, I told them for my surprise. She admitted very frankly that she told the paper for the surprise, for the particular surprise for the father's birthday next week. Then let us continue, my dear children. So we'll see it next. What? Screamed mother. Come straight down to the dining room this instant. So the mother was greatly stunned or surprised. So the mother was very much surprised and therefore screamed or shouted. Screamed or shouted. Screamed or shouted. S-H-O-U-T-D, shouted. Shouted to the daughter, come, you come down straight to the dining room. That is in the ground floor. This instant, at this particular moment itself. And she was dragged down to where the father was pacing to and fro, hands behind his back. Passing to and fro, hands behind his back. So when she attended to the dining room, particularly in the ground floor, the father was seeing that the father is under a lot of tension. So he was passing to and fro, means he was making movement this side or that side. He was under a lot of tension. His hands were behind his back, and he was telling. Well, he said sharply. Mother explained. He stopped and stared at the child. Did you do that? No, she whispered. Mother, go up to her room and face down the damned thing. She see that the child's put to bed this instant. So the father was very unhappy. The daughter was very much confused. She was telling in a whispering voice. She was now denying or refusing. And the mother was ordered that she instantly at this particular moment she will have to fetch. She will have to fetch. Fetch means go and bring. Go and bring. Go and bring the damned thing. Damned thing means the pin cushion. And then finally we will see that the child is put to the bed at this instant. The child goes to the bed at this moment itself, without any delay. This is the order given by the father or Kezia. Then let us continue. Let us move forward. Let us see. Crying too much to explain, she lays in the shadowed room, watching the evening light make a sad little pattern on the floor. So when you are unhappy, everything seems to be sad. So she was lying on the bed. She was lying on the bed. There was a shadow. There was a shadow, and this light also seemed to be making a sad pattern. Okay, some sad design seems to be made. Okay, some sad design is uh, supposed to be made by this shadow also when she was very unhappy. Then the father came into the room with a ruler in his hand. I'm going to beat you for this, he said. Oh, no, no, she screamed, hiding under the bedclothes. He pulled them aside. Sit up, he ordered, and hold out your hands. You must be taught once and for all not to touch what doesn't belong to you. So the father was a very strict person. The father was a strict disciplinarian, and therefore he is going to beat him and going to teach him a lesson so that she never touch the thing that doesn't belong to her. And in this way the child was beaten physically. But it was for you birthday. The daughter was very much confused. She was nervous. She was telling now the intention behind the making of this cushion. She was frankly telling that this was made even though it was a mistake. The motive, the purpose was not wrong, and it was only for your birthday. Then what happened next? Let's see. Down came the ruler on her little pink palms. So the father continued beating on the pink palm of the little girl. Hours later, when the grandmother had wrapped her in a shawl and rocked her in the rocking chair, the child clung to her soft body. What it got made the father for? She thought. Very important line here. Let us see this important line. So after being beaten by the father, so the attitude now went to the peak. The wrong notion or wrong idea about the father went to the peak or the climax, and finally when the child was taken care by the grandmother when she was wrapped in a shawl and then rocked in the rocking chair, the child was clinging to the soft body of the grandmother, and then was asking too. While she was asking, she was weeping also. And what she was asking, what did God made father for? So God made the father. What is the reason? She could not understand, and that was the question that was asked by the small daughter to the grandmother. Here is a clean hanky, darling. Blow your nose, go to sleep. Pet, you'll forget all about it in the morning. I tried to explain to the father. But he was too upset to listen tonight. Then it was the grandmother who consoled. The grandmother consoled, pacified. Pacify, pacified. So the grandmother pacified the granddaughter, and was telling the doctor, first the thing that you do is clear your nose or wipe your nose out. And she was also telling that I wanted to explain the particular incident, but the father was very unhappy and he was not in the mood to listen to me tonight. Therefore, it will take some time, and more particularly go to bed. Sleep is the soothing balm, and it will pacify you of all your worries or sorrows. Therefore, let us see the next part. But the child never forgot. The child never forgot. What did the child never forget? Forget the incident of beating. Next time she saw him, she quickly put both hands behind and her back, and a red color flew into her inward cheeks. So, what is the kind of the feeling here? So, this feeling is called blush, blush. If something unwanted happen, that is the particular feeling. Blushing means your face will become red, you will become little unusual, and that is what happened. The father, whenever the father and the daughter meet the next time, what she happened, she was extremely terrified, and then what she did, she put her hand on her back, and her cheek or the face become very red in color because of the nervousness, because of the blushing, because of the unexpected feeling. Then let us see, my dear children, in the society, what particularly happened. We learn from each other, and we see and compare with others. So our little KJ also did what she made the comparison with her father and the father of McDonald's. So we'll see that McDonald's had 5 children, and they were a very happy family. And the father McDonald, what he did, so he was playing, hopping, jumping, and smiling with other children, playing or giving time to the other children. And this is the particular scenery that actually pain that actually pained her, because she wanted this particular situation and she did not get. Therefore, let us see, the McDonald's lived next door. They had 5 children. Looking through a gap into the fence, the little girl saw them playing tag into the evening. Playing tag, a children's game of catching one another. Tag. The father with the baby, Mao. Baby, name of the baby, Mao. On his shoulders, 2 little girls hanging on to his coat pockets ran round and round the flower beds shaking with the laughter. Once she saw that the boys turned the hose on him, and he tried to catch them laughing all the time. Therefore, this is the particular scenario we will see. These are the children. They are the smaller one, and he was playing the different type of game, like starting from the tech. So he played a lot of games, and this is the what actually pained our little Kajia, because she expected this and she did not get. Then it was she decided there were different sort of father. Therefore, now she comes to conclusion that there are different sorts of father. Of course, do you agree? There are different sort of father. Yes, there are different sorts or different types of father. Sorts means types. Different types of father. So, what are the different types? Some father seems to be very kind. Some father seems to be very cruel. But in the face of the cruelty, even though they seem to be cruel on the surface level, but they are not at all cruel. There is another picture, a different picture, and that we will see in this lesson itself. Therefore, let us continue. Let us continue with it. So, let us see. Suddenly, one day, mother became ill, and she and grandmother went to the hospital. So this is the particular incident. This incident you will see, this will be a turning point in the relationship of the father and the daughter. So in this particular scene, what we see is that the mother was taken ill or become ill, and mother in the company of the grandmother went to the hospital, and father and the daughter was there in the room, and we'll see that there is a change of the attitude of the little daughter because of his sharing and caring, because of the sharing and caring of the father. Therefore, his picture, his notion about the father went or underwent a change. The little girl was left alone in the house with Elise, the cook. That was all right in the time. The time. But when Alice was putting her to the bed, she grew suddenly afraid. She suddenly became afraid. She grew panicky. So there was the cook, Alice. Alice put her into the bed, and when it was daytime, it was no problem. When the darkness came, she was very much afraid. We will see now what happens. What will I do if I have a nightmare? If I have a nightmare, she asks. I often have nightmares, and then Granny take me into her bed. I cannot stay in the dark. It all gets whispery. Whispery means as if somebody is whispering, making very low sound talk. Low sound talk means it actually appears just like the presence of the ghost. Therefore, this is a particular scenery very common to all the children, and the children actually are very much afraid of darkness, and normally they have the nightmare. And in this case of Kazia too, she had the nightmare, and she took the help of the granny and went to her bed and stayed there and was consoled. Therefore, during that time she was sick. But now what will happen if it happens? You just go to sleep, child, said Alice, pulling off her socks, and do not scream, wake your poor pa. Poor pa. So father is the poor. Why the father is the poor? Alice actually takes a lot of pity on the father. Father is a real very good father because he is the earning, he is a bread earner. Okay? He is the earning of the bread, he is the earner of the bread of the family, and therefore Alice also feels pity for the father's hectic or schedule or very tough schedule, and therefore he gives a warning to the little child that you should not disturb just by making some unnecessary call or screaming to the father. Then let us continue. Let us see the next part now. But the same old nightmare came to the butcher with a knife and a rope, who came nearer and nearer, smiling that dreadful smile, while she could not move, could only stand still, crying out, "Grandma, Grandma!" She woke, shivering to see father beside her bed, a candle in his hand. So now, my dear children, you see, what is the kind of the feeling? What is the kind of your feeling now? So certainly the nightmare king, So in the nightmare, what is the particular scenery? The scenery is very dangerous. There's the butcher, who used to cut the animal for eating. There is the picture of the butcher with the knife and a rope also coming nearer and nearer to Kazia, as if she's going to be killed. Then she was crying. She was crying in the name of her grandmother, and then the father was seen beside her with a candle in his hand and asking what the matter was. "Oh, a butcher, a knife! I want a granny! I want a granny! I want a granny!" He blew out the candle. bent down and caught up the child in his arm, carrying her along the passage to the big bedroom. A newspaper was on the bed. A half-smoked cigar was near his reading lamp. He put away the paper, threw the cigar into the fireplace, then carefully tucked up the child. He lay down beside her, half asleep still with the butcher's smile all about her. It seemed she crept close to him, snuggled her head under his arm, held tightly to his shirt. Let us see this part. So in this part we will see the picture of the butcher continues, and granny was called by the little girl. Father did to what father blew out the candle, took the child, took her to his bedroom, and then comfortably laid there. The child was snuggling. The child was snuggling, or means going closer to the father, because she was very much afraid. She was very much afraid. Still, with the butcher's smile all about her, it seemed. She crept closer to him, snuggled to her, head under his arm, held tightly to his shirt. As she was very much afraid, she was going closer to the father, because she was very much afraid. Then the dark did not matter. She lay still. At a time, even though there was a darkness, she actually was not afraid, because she got the assurance of the father. She was very close to the father. Here, rub your feet against my leg and get them warm, said the father. Maybe it was the month of December or January. It was a severe cold, and therefore the father was suggesting that your legs are very cold, and therefore you may warm it up just by rubbing it against my ones. Therefore, it also shows the love and care of the father towards the child. Then let us continue, my dear children. Tired out, he slept before the little girl. A funny feeling came over her. Funny feeling came over her. A funny feeling came over her. Poor father, not so big after all, and with no one to look after him. No one look after him. He was harder than grandmother, but it was a nice hardness. And every day he had to do work, and too tired to be a Mr. MacDonald. She had to tone up all his beautiful writing. She tired suddenly and sighed. What is the matter? Asked her father. Another dream. Now, this time you will see some sort of funny feeling, very amusing feeling, very pleasant feeling was coming. So, feeling is that now she began to realize or understand the father. So, the father was not a giant, he was a poor father. A person who is to be pitied, okay? He is an object of pity. We need to pity for him, because he is a person who is restlessly working for the whole family, not having time, not having anybody to take care of him. So here we see that her comparison with Mr. MacDonald. Her comparison of the father with the Mr. MacDonald was not correct. She began to realize, and therefore, after realization, she began to repent. She's sighing, means begin to repent. Then the father was asking, what is the problem now? Is there any another pestering or disturbing dream now? Oh, said the little girl, my head's on your heart. I cannot hear it going. What a big heart you have got, father dear. Then the little girl was very happy, and then she was telling that You are not a very big man. You are not a giant. But what is a big is your heart is very big. You are a very big-hearted person, very generous person. Okay, large-hearted person, generous person. Generous. You are a very generous person. Even though on the body you seem to be very very hard. Your heart is Heart. Your heart is very soft and your heart is very big. That means you are a very great person. You are not great in size, but you are great in your heart. And I'm really proud of my father. So, my dear children, this is the end of this lesson. Now we will see some of the questions, particularly the MCQ questions from this lesson. Multiple choice question. This is the new pattern, and in CBSE exam this sort of question will come, and this is the simple type of the question, and your preparation should be PISA based question, little tough one, where your thinking or the thinking capacity is challenged. Name the writer of the story The Little Girl. So certainly the answer will be this one. Answer will be this one. Catherine Mansfield. Then see the next one. Why was Kezia afraid of her father? Because he never talked to her lovingly, because he never played with her, because he kept finding fault with her. Then next, let us see all the above. So what will be the answer? Because he never played with her. Never played with her. So this is the answer. This is the answer. Never played with her. Not working. Number B. Who are the people in Cage's family? So you can see the members of the family. Members of the family. Who are the member? Her parents. Her parents are her granny. Her parents, her sister and her granny. Her parents, her brother, her sister and her granny. So what is the answer? So we do not find any mention of the brother or sister. Her parents were there. Her parents were there. Her granny was there, and she herself. Therefore, answer B is correct. So in this manner, so you will see the MCQ type of questions, and all the question you can see. The last question, let us see question number 20. I'll be giving you the PDF file of the same also. Why did the grandmother ask the little girl to go make a present for her father? So as you know, it is for the birthday in the next week. The father was going to be retired the next week. Wrong. Birthday was there in the next week, father's birthday. That means the answer is, so this is the answer. This is the answer, my dear children. So this is the answer. The father's birthday was there in the next week. Therefore, my dear children, so I suppose your understanding of the lesson is over. You can make a review of the lesson just by remembering many of the vital points, and in this way just by writing the vocabulary item and going to the grammar items, so you can make your understanding of the lesson better and clear. With this, let us stop, and we'll see you in the next video, in the next lesson. Till then.